Joining us now to talk more about what has transpired in Israel, a man who has paid a great deal of attention to the Middle East. It used to be his job back when he was chairman of the House Select Committee on Intelligence. He is former Congressman and my colleague Pete Hoekstra, joining us via telephone from overseas, specifically in Europe today. Mr. Chairman, thanks so much for joining us again on America's Forum.
Hey, great to be with you, JD. Thank you.
You and I both had occasion to hear Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the floor of the House of Representatives when we served there. You no doubt have spoken with him personally on a smaller stage. And Netanyahu had a message for the world and for Hamas yesterday, a very stern response, which reads in part, the three teens were, quote, abducted and murdered in cold blood by human animals. Hamas is responsible and Hamas will pay. Now, the Israelis wasted no time in terms of airstrikes. Is there a situation now where Israel, and maybe you can clear this up for me, Pete, because I wondered in previous years, every nation has a legitimate right to self-defense, but it seemed that there was great communication between the United States and Israel. I know you're not on the inside anymore, but have you heard about the communications dynamic between our government, between our intelligence and Israeli intelligence and the Israeli government? Is Israel now really in more of a situation where it, quote, goes it alone?
Well, I think you got to take a look at that on a number of different levels, JD. Number one, I think the personal relationships between the intelligence folks, the military folks in Israel and the United States, I'm sure that they are still very, very strong. Those are personal relationships that in many cases have been fostered over, 10, 15 years. Those relationships are going to stay in place. What we have right now is we've got frayed relationships between the political leaders of Israel and the United States. I think there's, no one doubts that Netanyahu and President Obama just don't get along. They don't like each other. They've got different views for how to make progress in the Middle East towards, peace, security, stability, addressing the threats from Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and those types of things. And so what I think you're saying, I thought, when I knew we were going to be talking about this morning, I spent a lot of time thinking about that. And I think what you're seeing here is Netanyahu, in some ways, believes that, and I think rightfully so, that he needs to firmly establish Israel's position because Hamas and others are going to test Israel's position just like they have tested the United States, and I believe we have found the United States wanting. We continue to give ground. We are seeing weak leadership. We're seeing weak responses to what's happening in Iraq, what's happening in Syria, what happened in Libya, and those types of things.
Conversely, Pete, we are seeing an assertive attitude from this president in terms of executive powers and executive orders. You're coming back next hour. We're going to get your thoughts then on executive overreach and also get more of an update on what is transpiring around the world in terms of an intelligence brief. Former Intelligence Committee Chairman Pete Hoekstra, we thank you, and we'll speak with you in about an hour.
Sounds good. Thanks.
So there's Pete with his quick take on our relationship with Israel. Your take on that relationship, your comments, invited and encouraged at Newsmax TV, #America's Forum. There's also email and Facebook, and we're coming right back.